no. Charlie, we have to get out of here. We have to get out of here, Charlie. Oh no, the door is closed. I know what to do. It's not working, Charlie. It's not working. What are we gonna do? Wait. I think I know what we can do. It's time to upgrade. Oh, the door open. Go, Charlie, go! Go! Run! Run! Escape! I am so weird. Time to begin the episode. I didn't say episode right. Hello everyone. Yes, that's right. I have 2 sonic screwdrivers now. Anyway, hope you all are having a great day. It's time for episode 91 of Discovering Doctor Who, and today I'm going to be talking about the episode Time Heist. And if you happen to be on Twitter while I was watching this, you probably have a good idea of what I think about this episode. But all the same, I will keep my overall thoughts until the end, as usual. And hello, Midna. It's Midna, right behind the camera, making that noise. Anyway, alright, as always, let's start with my favorite parts of the episode. Starting with the memory worms, or I guess more specifically, the scene with the memory worms. Or scenes, I guess would be more accurate. Just the idea of the Doctor, Clara, and then Sai and Sabra? I can't remember how you pronounce her name. But just the way that the worms are utilized to wipe their memories and the specific purpose for it. Like, I honestly never thought, or I never expected to see the memory worms again until, well, not ever actually. I didn't expect to see them after, what episode was it? The Snowmen. Yes, the Snowmen. I just thought that was kind of a one-off deal, but no, I was rather surprised and, well, happily surprised to see them, and utilized in such a creative way, honestly. And then, of course, you know, the little funny scene after the Doctor and the others manage to escape, and the guards have apparently never heard of memory worms before because they touched them and lost their memory. So they had no idea what they were doing, obviously. So, yeah, that was a lot of fun. So, yeah, just the utilization of the memory worms as a whole, I absolutely loved it. Now, my second favorite part of this episode was Sai. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce the name correctly. And just the uniqueness of the character. I suppose that he could be categorized sort of as a cyborg, supposedly, or at the very least, I believe they refer to him as being modded in, like a modded human, basically. So, like, he was part human, part computer. And I don't know, and one of the things we find out at the end is that, he didn't even have to touch the memory worms. Like, he manually deleted his memories. And I just found that to be really intriguing. And, well, I might as well go into my third favorite part of this episode, which was Sabra, or Cybra, however you pronounce her name. And, I mean, both of those characters together are just like, even if they're only one-offs, even if they never show up ever again in any Doctor Who episodes, I mean, they were really unique characters, and characters that I honestly really, really liked. It's one of the things that's been hard for me, especially, well, I guess kind of throughout Doctor Who, but mostly after Moffat took over with being head writer, is that a lot of characters, they'll be side characters, and you never really develop much of a connection to them. You never really start to feel for them, and a lot of times they'll inevitably be killed off. But this was one of those episodes where I can't remember who the writer is. I might include it in the captions down here. But the writer was able to write the characters in such a way that I really grew to like them. With Sai's own side story and, learning his past, that he deleted his memories of all of his friends and loved ones so as to not have them associated with him because of, the things that he's done in the past. And then Sabra, she, being a mutant, or no, well, they refer to her as a mutant, but I don't know, I feel like there have been mutants referred to before, but they haven't exactly been human. So I don't know if just mutant is sort of a blanket term, or maybe that there are mutants in the Doctor Who universe that are kind of like the X-Men, and that, they appear human, but they have mutant powers, just kind of like, I think probably... Sabra was sort of like a mix between Mystique, who can change forms, which Mystique can change forms at will, doesn't have to touch people, and Rogue, who absorbs powers by touching people. So yes, she was sort of a mix of those two. And, I could be mistaken, I might be forgetting, but are there any other mutants like her in Doctor Who, whether it's in classic or, maybe New Who that I've forgotten? Because I really find that intriguing, the idea that there might be, human mutants like there are in the X-Men, as opposed to, just like deformed entities that are referred to as mutants. But yeah, let me know that. But yeah, overall, just Sabra and Sai, numbers 2 and 3 of my favorites by far. They were just really enjoyable characters, and again, characters I would not mind at all seeing again in the future, for whatever reason. Really, it's probably never going to happen, but I would like that. Alright, now moving on to my fourth favorite part of the episode, the Architect. Or, I guess, rather, since we know the Architect is the Doctor, the idea of the Architect. Just the whole idea of the master plan that the Doctor set forth, bringing Sai and Sabra together along with him and Clara to embark on this mission, and it's so hard to describe, but just the idea of the Architect and what he, the Doctor, puts them through is just, it's really astounding, and it's really even an element of my fifth favorite part coming up. But yeah, just that unknown entity, that basically unseen force until the end, just leading them along, and I just thought it was really brilliant. I thought it was really cool the way they did that, and the way they brought it back around to us finding out that it is the Doctor. And I will admit that I thought it might be the Doctor, but assumed that maybe they would kind of, throw us a curveball. I ended up being right, so, wasn't exactly fooled by any means, but I did, still, all the same, I found the idea, almost jumped into the camera, I found the idea of the Architect to be really interesting. But alright, moving on to my final favorite part of this episode, and that was that it was a love letter to heist movies. And I guess this is kind of give away, some of my feelings about the episode, but I don't think it's possible to be a fan of heist movies like Heat, The Rock. Wait, is The Rock a heist movie? I can't remember. But anyway, just heist movies in general, and not really truly appreciate this episode. I honestly don't think that's possible. Well, and again, this is just my own personal opinion here, as a fan of heist movies, but I just found, like, even if I couldn't pick out specific references, there were so many aspects of the episode that made me think of these different movies. Like, it felt like it had elements of Ocean's 11 through 13, I guess. I don't know how many of those movies there were. Again, Heat, just like all of these heist movies, it's like the writer definitely, you can tell that he has an appreciation, knowledge, and love for heist movies, because he brought it together really well in this really short form, in this, real little compact episode-long episode. Being redundant. But anyway, yes, just this episode was a love letter to heist movies, done very, very well in my opinion. Alright, moving on from there, it is time for my annoyances with the episode. And I feel like I've said this for the last few episodes, but I feel like maybe at least the first one is sort of a nitpick. I don't know, it's hard to say, but it's things that didn't take me out of the episode while I was watching, but afterward, while reflecting on it, they did bug me. Either just because maybe it confused me, or I felt there was a lack of logic. But anyway, starting with number one is when the teller finds, or basically they detect that someone is going to try and rob the bank, and they find the first person, and he's standing there and, you know, tries to convince them that he's not trying to, but the teller finds out, and the teller turns his brain to soup. Okay, turn the brain to soup, you know, basically turns into a dead person, a zombie. But then the head sinks in, and I don't know. It's, in my mind, it's like, you know, yeah, the brain might, like, you know, okay, the brain microwaves, it turns to soup, but why does the skull sink in? It's like, you know, there's pretty hard skull there. It's like, even if there was nothing in there, I assume, could be wrong, I'm not that kind of scientist, I'm a computer programmer, but, you know, if there's no brain in there, the head's still gonna stay in place, you know? But yeah, that was just one thing that really irked me for some reason that it's really hard to explain. But yeah, so that's my first annoyance with the episode, is that it's just, you know, just the head sinking in. It just felt really hokey and dumb, and I felt like it wasn't necessary. Like, they could have just had the person, like, you know, collapse down and act like a zombie or whatever, you know, without the head sinking in. Again, that's just me. But my second annoyance with this episode, well, second and final annoyance, and it actually deals with that exact same scene, is that in all logic, they should have been caught when they were in the lobby. When they were in that lobby, get tails on the camera. Because, yes, it's like, you know, the memory wipe was to remove any idea, any guilt of what they planned to do. However, they still knew that they were going to rob the bank, and there were 4 of them. So how could they have detected one person with, like, apparently just the slightest fleeting idea that he might try to rob the bank, and not 4 people that know that they're going to? It's like, I mean, you know, maybe the doctor told them beforehand to just kind of like block out any of those things, like, you know, any of those thoughts beforehand, but at the same time, there's 4 of them, and they're all in one place. So how would the teller not have picked onto that, or been drawn to that? I just, that one's not a nitpick in my opinion. That one was just it's kind of some poorly written plot there. And it's like, you know, and it's not a big deal in the long run, of course, but I feel like he could have written it a bit of a different way, or maybe just had the guy been, you know, completely gung-ho about actually robbing the bank, you know, and maybe, like, you know, his determinedness, that's not a word, would have, you know, distracted the teller, distracted their sensors from being able to lock onto them. I don't know, but it could have been done a different way. It could have been done better. But alright, that was my second annoyance with the episode. And actually, I do have a, well, that happened of the episode. And it's, I'm not gonna say this name right. Ms. Delphox and Ms. Carabraxis, whatever. I don't know, even though the episode, you know, kind of revolved around those 2 characters in a sense, what with Ms. Delphox being a clone of Carabraxis, whatever. But there were a few things that kind of, again, these weren't major annoyances, but I didn't find them particularly great, or maybe a bit misleading. But does anyone else think that, well, Miss Delphox and Carabraxis being played by the same person, obviously, certain parts kind of reminded you of Missy? And I don't know if that's on purpose or what, but I don't know. It's, there was just something very familiar about her appearance, or at least, you know, Delphox's appearance, because of what she was wearing, that just reminded me a lot of Missy, and it felt misleading. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe I'm completely off there, but it was all the same, just kind of like, you know, a bit annoying there. But probably the biggest confusion aspect that, again, isn't a major annoyance, but at the same time leaves me feeling kind of would be the idea that the Doctor gave her his number, assuming that she was going to have a major regret one day in the future. And I don't know if that sort of plays with like the time loop logic that Moffat likes to employ sort of in his overall stories, which, you know, he probably had nothing to do with this particular story, but it's like, you know, creating that loop, whereas, you know, the Doctor and Clara get called, the Doctor finds out what's going on, and he then plants the memory into, you know, the woman who he, I assume, knows, he knows will call him in the future. I don't know. I don't know. But, yeah, it just, I don't know, it was just very strange, and it felt a bit off, but again, not anything really negative, just confusing and kind of strange. You know, just leaving me feeling kind of, okay, well, that happened. But, alright, that went on way too long. Everyone, if you have any other favorite parts of this episode, any other negatives that you want to voice, you know, any of your own, well, that happened kind of moments, let me know in the comments down below. And, I mean, I assume that there's probably some people that may not have liked this episode at all. In my opinion, it's probably been the strongest of this season so far. But, you know, if you just, for some reason, really don't like this episode, and you have nothing good to say, as always, say something nice first. I'm going to find out eventually why you all love me saying that. But anyway, alright, so moving on from there, it is time for the track of the episode, and this one was, a bit more limited than some of the previous episodes. There were only 4 main tracks for this episode in the soundtrack. And the one that I chose overall was The Architect, which I believe was the first one of the listing. And mostly because it felt like it captured the mood of the episode most accurately. Like, it just had this really foreboding and yet feeling, and yet there was like this bit of energy underneath that was just ready to, I get you. And yeah, I really liked that track overall. The others were okay, and they definitely fit the episode really well, but that was the one that I guess you could say stood out the most to me. So yeah, alright, so that's my track of the episode. If you have any, if you like any of the other tracks more, do let me know. And there may have even been some hidden tracks. It seems like that happens from episode to episode. If there were any of those that you liked better that kind of fell outside of the soundtrack's range, let me know too. But okay, time for my quote of the episode. And this one is like, there was a lot of good dialogue, a lot of witty banter, but there was one line in particular that really just grabbed me, and it's and I loved how it tied in to Sabra's conflict too, in that, you know, she didn't want to change into whatever she's touching, you know, because or what, I can't remember her exact words, but basically it's like, you know, how can you not how can you love yourself, but basically it's like, you know, being faced with yourself. I don't know what I'm saying. But anyway, the quote is from the Doctor, and it is this. I hate him. He's overbearing. He's manipulative. He likes to think he's very clever. I hate him. Talking about himself, because at that point he has realized that he is the architect. And there's a little bit of, like, you know, this weird self-loathing aspect, which, again, is like sort of what tied into Sabra's storyline, little storyline there. You know, hating her powers, hating her mutant abilities, so to speak. But, yeah, it's just, like, that line right there is just, like, it jumped out at me, and it's just, in my opinion, by far, probably the most memorable line of the episode. But there are definitely some others, you know, quite a few others. Like I said, there was a lot of really good dialogue in this one. So if you have any other quotes that you prefer in this episode, please do let me know. Please do let me know in the comments down below. And hopefully you can write better than I can speak tonight. Bye, Midna. But alright, now it's time for my overall thoughts on the episode. Oh, and by the way, no additional theory yet. Still, there's some theories that are cooking in this old brain, but nothing that's ready to come out yet. I'm going to hold out on that. Probably at least until we see Missy again. But my overall thoughts on the episode. Like I said, if you've been paying attention to this video much, or if you followed my Twitter when I was live tweeting the episode, you would know this, but I really liked it. it's, in my opinion, it is the strongest episode of this season so far, and it's had some really good episodes, some really enjoyable, strong episodes. But there was just something about it, just the way, again, that the writer and the director and all the characters encapsulated that feeling of a heist movie in this 45-minute episode was just excellently done. It was well written, well paced, lots of fun, exciting, intense. It was everything you could ask for in a really good episode, which really just leaves you with nitpicks in the end, or maybe just like, a few bits of flawed logic that, again, may just be me being confused or having missed something. It's definitely possible. But yeah, so this episode, definitely 2 thumbs up, 2 thumbs and 2 Sonics up, actually. So yeah, I absolutely love this episode. I am definitely ready to get into the next one, which is called The Caretaker. And unless I'm mistaken, based on some of the comments I've seen in previous episodes, Caretaker might not be so good, but as always, I always reserve my judgment for finding out for myself, because obviously there are episodes that I really like that people love and hate. There are episodes that I really dislike, but people love and hate them. So yeah, it's hard to say, but all the same, I'm ready to get into the next episode and see what's going to happen next, because apparently, of the little tiny bit of the preview that I did catch, Denny's going to be more of a central part of the story this time. So I'm interested to see how that happens, especially if they go outside of just being in a restaurant the whole time. But alright everyone, thank you very much for joining me for this episode 91 of Discovering Doctor Who. And until next time everyone, I'm PapaKenn. Alonzi!